Linda's dream was lit. She rode a giant pen through downtown Toronto, scribbling sky-high affirmations while her grown kids cheered from maple trees. Waking 4:17 a.m., 50-year-old fingers fumbled for that leather notebook buried under yoga pants. Ridiculous? Maybe. But community center flyers for a virtual journaling circle glowed on her fridge like a dare. Sunrise painted her messy bun pink as she typed "Midlife Inc. Warriors" into a forum. No more staring silent group chats. Today, blank pages would hold more than grocery lists. Linda's fingers hovered over cracked leather binding. That notebook had seen her through college applications, grocery lists, her daughter's first word scrawled in purple crayon. Now its pages yawned empty, mocking her. 50 years old, and she'd become one of those women who counted sidewalk cracks on walks to Toronto's community center, where fluorescent lights buzzed like disapproving ants. Her first virtual journaling circle met on a Thursday. Screen glare highlighted silver streaks in her hair as strangers' faces pixelated into warmth. A woman from Texas shared how writing healed her like honey on a burn. A Montrealer joked about mistaking emoticons for hieroglyphics. Linda snorted, then caught herself. Laughter felt foreign, like rediscovering a forgotten sweater pocket with a 20 inside. She scribbled hesitantly first, ink blots betraying her shaky hands. But words piled up like autumn leaves in High Park, messy, vibrant. Some entries were rants about neighbors' yappy chihuahua, a furry alarm clock with zero snooze button, others wistful musings on her daughter's childhood bunk bed, now a shrine to storage bins. Deep down, Linda feared she'd become a ghost in her own life, a wisp of who she'd been, clinging to a fridge magnet schedule with no events left. But leather-bound pages held her steady. Each sentence was a stepping stone away from that hollow ache, even when she tripped over clichés like untied shoelaces. By winter, her notebook bulged with pressed maple leaves and ticket stubs from solo jazz nights Rex. Virtual Circle cheered when she read aloud about skating harborfront, wiping out spectacularly near a group of teens who yelled, "Respect, Grandma." She'd bowed. They'd filmed it. Somehow, that was lit. Pen still giant, Linda's fingers traced cracked leather binding on that notebook, its surface worn smooth by years of grocery lists and half-finished poems. Now it held something new, her voice, shaky but determined, spilling onto cream-colored pages. Empty nest silence had pressed down until she'd stumbled into a virtual journaling circle advertised on a community center bulletin board between yoga flyers and ukulele lessons. First, typing felt like shouting into a void. But then Margot, a silver-haired former librarian from Nova Scotia with a knack for spotting buried metaphors, commented on Linda's entry about that ridiculous dream, riding a giant pen through downtown Toronto, ink splattering across skyscrapers. "Honey, your subconscious is lit," Margot wrote. Woman snorted coffee onto her keyboard. Mornings became less about counting missing footsteps in hallway and more about chasing words before they evaporated. She learned to capture snippets, a barista's accidental heart-shaped latte foam, way autumn leaves stuck to wet pavement like stubborn memories. Notebook grew heavier, pages swollen with pressed petals and ticket stubs. Leather absorbed her fingerprints, becoming less an object and more a companion. When winter stripped trees bare, creator hesitated, then shared an entry about teaching her daughter to ride a bike in High Park. Circle members responded with their own stories: skinned knees, wobbly triumphs, ache of handlebars suddenly too small to hold. Their words knit together like a quilt, warm against loneliness. One evening, Margot messaged her privately, "Ever thought of leading a group? Your stuff's got legs." Linda's stomach flipped. 50 years old and terrified of Zoom host buttons. But next Thursday, she fumbled through muting mishaps, accidentally spotlighting her cat mid-sentence. Laughter crackled through screens. By spring, notebook tucked under her arm, Linda stood before a real-life workshop that same community center. Sunlight caught dust motes as strangers settled into folding chairs. She took a breath, leather warm against her palm, and began. Linda's fingers hovered over leather notebook, its spine cracked from years of neglect. 50 felt too old for fresh starts, but that giant pen in her dream had been lit, a ridiculous, stubborn nudge from her subconscious. Toronto's autumn chill seeped through her apartment window as she flipped past grocery lists and half-hearted to-dos. Empty nest silence pressed in, but she refused to drown in it. Instead, she dug for a working biro beneath a pile of mismatched socks. Community center flyers had promised renewal through reflection, though Linda suspected it was just craft hour with extra steps. Still, she'd signed up for a virtual journaling circle, screen glowing like a campfire for lonely. First session, she'd written 3 lines about her son's dorm room, then backspaced furiously. Too raw. Too momish. But facilitator, a woman with silver braids and a no-nonsense smirk, had said, "Scratch pretty. Dig where it aches." So Linda did. She chronicled her battle with grocery store self-checkout, her epic fail sourdough starter, way her hands still reached for 2 coffee mugs every morning. Dry humor crept in, she mocked her own melodrama. Note to self, world's tiniest violin plays for Linda's missing laundry pile. Leather notebook became her sparring partner, its pages absorbing punches of frustration and flickers of pride. Weeks in, she noticed shifts. Less sighing her son's untouched hockey gear in hall. More curiosity about her own forgotten rhythms, how she used to love sketching rooftops from her fire escape, how silence could be spacious instead of hollow. Journaling circle cheered her progress, strangers turned allies in pixelated squares. One even mailed her a maple leaf pressed in wax paper, a nod to Toronto's stubborn beauty. Linda's pen moved easier now, no longer a weapon but a compass. 50 wasn't end, it was messy middle. And that leather notebook. Battle-scarred, ink-blotted, gloriously alive, just like her. Linda's dream was lit, she rode a giant pen, soaring over Toronto's skyline, laughter echoing like wind chimes. Waking with ink-stained fingers, she clutched her leather notebook, its spine cracked from years of love. 50 years young, she refused to let empty nest silence swallow her whole. Community centers had always been her refuge, so she marched into one with a wild idea, a virtual circle where women could spill their hearts without judgment. Skeptical staffers exchanged glances, until creator slapped that leather notebook on table. "Try me," she dared, flashing a grin. First session, only 3 faces flickered on screen. One skeptic, Marjorie, arms crossed, muttered about woo-woo nonsense. Creator ignored her, scribbling prompts with a flourish, write about a time you surprised yourself. Pens scratched. Silence thickened. Then, Marjorie's voice cracked. "I forgot I once backpacked solo through Portugal," room exhaled. Week 3, she upped ante. She live-streamed a gutsy challenge, journal in public. Women scribbled in parks, on subways, even during lunch breaks. Someone snapped woman mid-scribble on a streetcar, her silver hair catching sunlight, leather notebook balanced on her knee. Shot went viral, pen your power trending by dawn. Emails flooded in, "How'd you do it?" Marjorie returned, this time with friends. "All right, hotshot," she teased, "what's next?" Linda's pulse raced. She unveiled her boldest move yet, a pop-up journaling booth Kensington Market, free prompts, free coffee, zero pressure. Crowd swarmed. A teen giggled, "You're, like, a word wizard," creator beamed. As twilight painted city pink, she leaned against a lamppost, leather notebook warm in her hands. Marjorie sidled up, nodding buzzing crowd. "Guess woo-woo works." Linda chuckled. For first time in years, she thought, I finally belong here. Turns out, renewal wasn't about filling silence, it was about rewriting it, one messy, glorious page at a time. Linda's dream was lit, she rode a giant pen, soaring over Toronto's skyline, leather notebook clutched tight. Waking, she grinned. 50 never felt so alive. That notebook, once a lonely relic of grocery lists, now pulsed with purpose. Mornings began with ink-stained fingers, scribbling memories, fears, even weird cravings for pickle-flavored ice cream, blame menopause. Pages filled with not just words but wings, each entry lifted her higher. She didn't stop there. Linda launched a virtual journaling circle, Ink and Lift, from her cozy condo. Screen by screen, women worldwide joined, widows, CEOs, a retired clown named Marge. They shared stories like potluck dishes, each voice thickening stew of connection. Community centers took notice, hosting her workshops. Who knew scribbles could stitch souls? Her empty nest. Now a launchpad. Kids FaceTimed, marveling moms glow up. Even Gary, her goldfish, seemed prouder, blowing bubbles her laptop. Leather notebook, once stiff, softened with use, just like her. Linda guided others to mine joy from messy middles, proving renewal wasn't a phase but a practice. Your turn. Grab a pen, write your way home.